down the field. Happy tossing dimes, cup $1 million deal. Fantasy football, better know it's real. Tune into the podcast, tell us how you feel. We be going live, best believe we talk.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Football from Up North podcast. Once again, this is going to be your Week 5 recap show. We're going to do a quick one here because, as you Canadians know, it is our Thanksgiving weekend this weekend, and I just happened to be able to sneak away for a little bit. So while the kids go to bed, so now we are going to talk some football. And first off, I'm going to talk about the injuries that did happen. There was a few significant ones and some not so significant, but as far as fantasy goes, you may have a few of these guys in your lineup. So you might be looking for some replacements come week 6. So first one I want to talk about, James Conner for the Cardinals. Had rib issue, did not return. And also his backup, Darrell Williams, didn't return as well. So 2 injuries to the running back position. Conner might most likely will play through this, but ribs is going to be a tricky situation. So as far as that goes, you're going to be looking at a guy like Eno Benjamin off the waiver wire, which we'll touch on that stuff waivers in Tuesday's episode. So moving on here, Baker Mayfield was seen in a walking boot after the game. So I mean, if you were playing them, then I guess you're hurting. But I mean, for most people are probably happy about that, to be honest, because he's been bad. Another one that hurt me actually is Dalton Schultz, knee injury, didn't return versus the Rams. And like we all know that this whole tight end crapshoot that's going on right now, having Dalton Schultz, when he's on his game, he's dynamite. So he's going to be that's going to be an issue where you're going to have to try to find somebody to replace him. Christian Watson of the Packers, he left the London game this morning with a hamstring injury. So just something to keep an eye on. Not that he was doing too much, but he did find the end zone last week. So it was nice to see. So unfortunately, Green Bay Packers just keep getting hit with more injuries. The Dolphins, on the other hand, Teddy Bridgewater was out due to concussion protocols. So just something to keep an eye on, I guess, as well. And the biggest one here is Tyreek Hill, foot injury, didn't return in the fourth quarter. That's going to be a huge hit on this offense. But it's basically if you're a Waddle owner, you're happy with that. He didn't do too much today, but not sure quite why that was. But just something to monitor there with Tyreek Hill. The Patriots running back Damian Harris, hamstring, didn't return. That's when we saw a huge, I'm going to say a breakout game for Ramondre Stevenson this week, which we'll touch on. Chris Olave, the Saints wide receiver, concussion as well, was ruled out. Was on his way to having a very good game. So, I mean, you were most likely starting him. So just keep an eye on practice reports moving forward. Saquon Barkley of the Giants did leave the game today with a shoulder injury. Got checked out, re-entered the game, and dominated when he did come back. He's I don't know. He could be my running back one for the rest of the season if he keeps this up, as long as he stays healthy. And I would say that not too much else. Seattle, I guess I'll talk about this one. Rashad Penny looks to be like a fractured tibia, so that's his year is done. So I'll say right now, your first waiver priority right off the hop, and you're giving up all your fab for him, is going to be Kenneth Walker. This is what we've kind of been waiting for. I mean, unfortunately, the way that it's happening, not great, but Kenneth Walker should be your number one waiver priority this week. So without further ado, let's just jump into these games. We're going to start off with this Giants and the Packers game in London. I mentioned it earlier. Saquon Barkley he was awesome. I mean, he was already kind of banged up going into this game, but he left this game with a shoulder injury, but did come back. I mean, he put up amazing fantasy numbers, 13 carries, 70 yards, 1 touchdown, another 3 receptions for 36 yards. So if you started him fantasy, you're happy with that production for sure. On the Giants side of the ball, with the injuries to like Golladay didn't play in this one, you saw Kadarius Toney was questionable coming into this game, but was ruled out eventually. We saw what was nice to see was Darius Slayton although he didn't lead the receiving core in snaps, but as far as he was targeted 7 times for 79 yards. He did lead the receiving core here, but it was Marcus Johnson night. This guy just came off the practice squad, played over 45 snaps in this one, only targeted 3 times, caught all 3 balls for 35. So you're not looking at him moving forward. Slayton, on the other hand, you could probably look at him because of the fact that Sterling Shepard's out. Kenny Golladay hasn't really done much of anything, and Kadarius Toney, we're still kind of waiting and seeing what's happening with that. Richie James also did get some action in this one as well. Didn't do much with his opportunities, but he's another guy you kind of want to stay away from because once Wan'Dale Robinson comes back, he's most likely going to get jumped by on the depth chart by him. So on the Packers side of the ball, number 1, Romeo Dubs, however you want to call it. Targeted 5 times in this one, but this kid keeps he's Aaron Rodgers' go-to. It seems to be when he needs a big play happening. He was only 3 for 29, was targeted 5 times. Allen Lazard got the lone touchdown from Rodgers threw 2 touchdowns today, but Allen Lazard had a few big plays as well. He was targeted 7 times, but Randall Cobb is the one that out-targeted all these young bucks in this game. 7 receptions for 99 yards. No touchdowns, but I mean, that's volume, right? And that's the thing when we talk fantasy, even though he was split in time, maybe the fact the injury to Watson, that's going to open up a little bit more for Cobb moving forward. And as far as this team goes, and Robert Tonyan is going to be a guy. He only played 28 snaps. Him and Mercedes Lewis did pretty much tie in snaps this week, but Tonyan was targeted 4 times, caught all 4 balls for 23 yards, but it just isn't playing those important snaps like in the red zone. We did see Mercedes Lewis get that goal line target, and he scored on it today. So, and Tonyan wasn't even on the field at that time. So just Robert Tonyan, you can move on from him. And when, like I mentioned earlier, with the Giants receiving core too, like you're not really touching any of these guys. Kadarius Toney, I guess Kenny Golladay all 3 must be close. Toney, Golladay, and Robinson. So, I mean, I guess pick your poison when it comes to those guys. So, but at the end of the day, Giants won this game. It was actually a really good game to watch. I was quite impressed this morning. So let's just jump over to the Detroit and New England game. Very disappointing game fantasy wise. In my opinion, I mean, I expected a huge game from Jared Goff in this one, and he absolutely was trash today. 19 for 35, 229. Jamal Williams, not bad numbers, 15 for 56. The biggest thing is we saw Craig Reynolds, pardon me. He outsnapped Jamal Williams in this game. I mean, as far as the carries go, Williams did dominate in those, but Craig Reynolds was, they were playing from behind, and Craig Reynolds was the guy that was out there in that passing catch role. So just something to monitor moving forward. Just depending, Swift should be back next week, I'd imagine. So when it comes to Craig Reynolds, he's not going to be really, he's not going to be valuable at all to you. So just keep an eye. If he does seem to be coming back, Swift does come back, you don't even want to touch Reynolds. You still flex out Williams. I think it was just one of those games where they were playing from behind. So that's kind of what it was. And Josh Reynolds continues to be that number 2. I mean, he outsnapped everybody this week, 60 snaps compared to Ross St. Brown, 21. I'm assuming they just were easing him in from his injury. So just something to keep an eye on. But I still think that, well, obviously St. Brown's the one to own. And then Josh Reynolds, I think moving forward, you're still going to be able to play him when St. Brown's playing, the full snap count. As far as the Patriots go, we talked about it early with Damian Harris's injury. We did see Stevenson just kind of blow up in this one. He had over 25 carries for 61 yards, 2 receptions for 14 yards. So big breakout game from another one. thing to talk about is Jacoby Meyer, 7 receptions for 111 yards in this game. So nice to see that Bailey Zappi, probably the best name in the NFL. Love his last name. 17 for 21, efficient. Well, only 188, one passing touchdown, but he didn't really need to do too much in this one. Not when you're demolishing a team in every aspect of the game. Nice to see Hunter Henry involved with Jonnu Smith beat up. We saw Hunter Henry play a few more snaps than he's used to. And Tyquan Thornton was activated for this one. First action, played 26 snaps, targeted 3 times, caught 2 balls for 7 yards. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Thornton moving forward. And as far as Stevenson goes, if you for some reason you find him on your waiver wire or something like that, go and get him immediately. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to mention Nelson Aguilar also left this game as well. So just something else for Tyquan Thornton owners. If you guys do have him, just kind of keep track of that because they did draft him high. So they were excited about him when they did draft him. So it's going to be interesting to see, just to add another receiver into this crapshoot of receivers at this that they do have. So next game we're going to go to is the Pittsburgh Buffalo. So this game, I don't know what else to say about this game. It was a complete annihilation as far as Buffalo goes, 38-3, which we expected. It's not that it shocked anybody. Big thing here was Gabriel Davis blew up 3 catches for 171 yards and 2 scores, and that was right off the bat. He did lead all receivers in snaps. I mean, just played 3-4 more than Stephon Diggs, but Stephon Diggs also came out with a big game in this one, 8 receptions for 102 yards and a touchdown. They're Super Bowl ready. This team is most likely going to make to the Super Bowl. The one sneaky start I did say about this week, you guys listened to our show earlier, was Khalil Shakur. He actually found the end zone, 3 for 75 in this one. So I mean, I'll take some props for that. I did say this, flex them if you want to. And as far as the backs go in this one, I was kind of really shocked that Singletary, he dominated in snaps this week. I think he was 2-1 over Zach Moss and James Cook as well. So, I mean, we knew that going into this game that he was going to be he's the favorite to play, but moving forward, the Buffalo's got a much easier schedule. So I think when you got these tough games out of the way, I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of a guy like, they're going to try to get James Cook a little bit more involved. So, I mean, if you were sitting on him, just keep an eye on moving forward on what's going to happen with that. Because, I mean, we don't know, like, when the Bills are, I'm not saying this was a tough game. It obviously wasn't, but they've had a tough schedule. And I think they've been trying to get James Cook involved. They like Singletary. Singletary's been fine, but the fact is we don't know what's going to be, he's not going to be able to carry the full load. So somebody's got to step up, and that's where I do think it's going to be James Cook. On the other side of the ball, of course, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool led this one. We did see Pickens. So it was interesting to see how this was going to play out with, Kenny Pickett's first game. Not bad numbers, 34 for 52. Wanted to be a little bit more bigger percentage than that, but 327, no touchdowns, unfortunately. Pickens led the team in yards, 6 for 83, followed by Deontay Johnson, 5 for 60, and then Claypool, 5 for 50. Now, all of these guys were targeted the majority of the time in this one. 11 for Deontay, Chase 9, and Pickens 8. So those are your three main receivers in this one. I'm still not really touching anybody on this team except for Deontay Johnson, based on the fact that volume, right? I mean, he's getting double-digit targets every game. Pat Freiermuth left this game as well. So, I mean, he was another guy I was high on this week and just didn't really pan out due to injury. But Here's a weird one for me. We saw Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris pretty much split time in this one. They didn't really do much with the Najee did lead in carries with 11 to Warren's 5, but Warren had 4 catches for 39 yards, and which shocked me was the fact that um Jaylen Warren actually did play more offensive snaps than Najee did as far as carries, but as far as Najee Harris, he did lead the team in carries, but he's I don't know, he's been playing later in the games, which is crazy to see because it's like they kind of like almost trust him almost as equally as Harris. And I mean, could also been the fact the game was out of reach. So I mean, they did play Warren a little bit more, but just as far as the whole season goes, I think Warren's looked better than Harris has all season. And he's just he just looks more explosive with his runs. So I mean, just think there's a chance that I mean this could be kind of leaning toward a committee, which we're not used to seeing with Pittsburgh, but just something to keep an eye on and how that plays out. So on the other side, if there's anything else to really say about this game, it was just not much. I mean, basically Buffalo did what we expected them to do. They were unbelievable. Miami Dolphins and the Jets, another game that caught me off guard. Absolute shit kicking by the Jets. They handed down on Miami. I mean, we did mention that Tyreek Hill left in this one, but battle of the running backs in this one, we saw Breece Hall. Breece Hall looked good today. Almost 200 scrimmage yards, 1 touchdown, 18 carries for 97 and 1 score, 2 receptions for 100 yards. And then we saw on the other side, Raheem Mostert, 18 carries for 113 and 1 touchdown. Now, this was a game that really shocked me. Let's talk about the Dolphins first real quick. There was talk about who this backfield all year, like who's going to lead this backfield and so forth. Well, Mostert absolutely dominated in snaps today. Over 45 snaps compared to Myles Gaskin and Chase Edmonds. They both split time today at 13 and 10 snaps. So Edmonds did absolutely nothing in this game. 1 carry for 1 yard, and didn't even catch a single ball. So I'm not sure what's happening with that moving forward. But Mostert is the clear top running back. He should be starting every single week. If he stays healthy, we're going to see this guy explode. He's been good. Basically, Edmonds was benched. He hasn't done anything in 4 games this year. He's been brutal. I mean, he played 25% of the total snaps in the first half, and that was about it. So he's as of right now, I'm not sure if you're going to be dropping him right now, but just something to monitor moving forward. I do think that Edmonds is the number 2, but I just think Mostert's playing far too good right now that you're not going to be really relying on Edmonds very much because the way Mostert's running. So as far as the pass catchers went in this one, we did see Waddle play 51 snaps, was targeted only 4 times in this one. Tyreek Hill led the team in targets with 7 for 47. But remember, it was what was his Skylar Thompson was the quarterback after Teddy Bridgewater left this game. So I'm not going to look into this too much. You're not even going to look at Skylar Thompson, even if Bridgewater was going to be out for an extended period of time. Don't even look at him moving forward because they're just probably going to end up going to go sign somebody anyways. I mentioned earlier, Tyreek Hill was out the last 9 minutes of the game, apparently, with the foot injury. So just, I think, I don't know. I think if you need to look at a deep guy, somebody that could step up in this game, it might be a guy like Trent Sherfield. We did see him kind of show a little bit of flashes earlier on this season. So he's going to be a guy that you're going to look at, not necessarily on the waiver wire, but getting into these bye weeks and all that stuff like that, you're going to start needing guys like that. On the Jets side, Corey Davis once again led this team in snaps. Didn't really do too much with anything. Nobody was really targeted too much because we mentioned it earlier that it was the Breece Hall show. But let's don't be mistaken here. We did see that it was Breece Hall that did it all, but Michael Carter, I scored 2 touchdowns, and he was also, that was losing time to Breece Hall. So if you can, for some reason, find somebody in your leagues that are willing to buy on Michael Carter, I would sell high on him this week. Just kind of use the fact that he did just score 2 touchdowns. So he does still have some sort of a role in this one, but this is the 3rd straight week that his playing time has fallen. And Hall's just completely taken over this backfield. So it looks to me like Carter's going to be their goal line back. And when it comes to the one thing that did shock me in this game too is Tyler Conklin. I mean, all year he's been leading the league or leading the team in snaps, and he was absolutely horrendous today. He played 40 snaps. CJ Uzoma, who just came back from injury, outsnapped him, and he's been increasing in every game that he's played in. So I'm not sure what you're going to do with this. They do use a lot of 2 tight end sets, so hopefully Conklin gets back on the mark. But as of right now, you can drop him if there is better guys out there. And as far as that goes, when the receivers did go, like I mentioned, it was Breece Hall that threw for caught 2 for 100. And like I said, they didn't need to really do too much in this game. The way that the Miami was playing, the Jets defense was good. So just give it some more time, and let's move on to the next game. We're going to talk some Atlanta, Tampa Bay. This game here as well was 21-15 for the Bucs. Got their win. We were hoping they were going to get their win. Huge. This was big in my opinion right now. Brady looked pretty good. I said Brady was a start this week. 35 for 52 for 351. Only 1 passing touchdown, so you want to see a little bit more in that. But Leonard Fournette was huge today. 14 carries for almost 60 yards and 1 score. But this was the crazy one. 10 receptions for over 83 yards and for 83 yards and 1 score as well. So, if you look at him overall, targeted 11 times. We knew Fournette was good out of the backfield. I didn't think he was that good though. So, but you're starting Fournette every week. We did see Rachaad White get a little mixed in a little bit here with 5 carries, but outside of that, the receivers didn't do too much. Cameron Brate was absent in this one, so another guy you kind of want to look at, possibly if there is if Brate is going to stick to banged up, is Cade Otton. He was 6 for 43 on 7 targets today. So, like I said, with this crapshoot that we do have at tight end, maybe go get the rookie. He did play 74 snaps today, so that's huge compared to 14 of the next tight ends below him. So he was out there almost every single snap. So just keep an eye out for this kid. And on the Atlanta side, with Cordarrelle Patterson missing this game due to injury, it was going to be kind of like who's going to be the running back. It was Algier that did lead, but didn't do too much with this. He only rushed for 33.5 yards per carry. He did see significant snaps on early downs and the short yardage stuff. So that's just something to monitor. It could be the fact that, they're just, Tampa Bay's defense is good. So, but the one shocking one to me was Avery Williams. He was basically their 2-minute drill guy. So, you're not really looking at him, but just something to keep an eye out for. And the other one we were talking about who had a big game last week was Caleb Huntley. He didn't do really too much of anything. 8 carries for 34 yards as well. So, Drake London, on the other hand, he didn't really do 4 for 35, led the team in targets. So, London's startable. I'm really excited. I want to see when they're going to be, bringing some Desmond Ridder to this offense to get this, They got young weapons on this team. Drake London, Kyle Pitts was was inactive in this game. He was ruled out earlier this week. So, but he hasn't really done anything. So, and when it came to the tight end position, it was split kind of up between Parker Hesse and Anthony Firkser. But I mean, is what it is. Nothing really too much to talk about this Falcons team week to week, unless, of course, we start to see some Desmond Ridder come into the picture. So it's going to help this offense immensely. Seattle Saints. I got bit by this one big time, man. I got Taysom Hill whoop my ass in this game. 9 carries for 112 yards and 3 scores. Like, come on. And then he had 1 completion for a passing touchdown. Yikes. If you're playing against him, most likely the chances that you could overcome and beat your teammate, you had to have probably Gabe Davis and Josh Allen on your team. So going to be tough if you're playing against him. Now, was he started in many leagues? Most likely not. But the one league I did have him in, or I did play up against him, the guy did actually have him. So, but is what it is. When it comes to the Saints side of the ball, pardon me, I'll just pull all these stats up here. Dalton looked not bad, 187 yards. They did get the win, but this game was crazy, back and forth, back and forth. Mentioned earlier, Taysom Hill with the big game rushing, but Kamara went over 100 yards as well in this one. Was targeted 6 times, caught all 6 balls for 91 yards. So another almost 200-yard rushing scrimmage yards for Kamara. I mentioned it earlier too. Olave did leave this game with a concussion. He did manage to get before. He did leave 4 for 54 for a score as well. So you were happy with that. You were starting him no matter what. Adam Troutman, on the other hand, tight end, we saw him in limit. We haven't really heard too much about him. Wasn't targeted many times in this one. Three targets, 2 catches for 32, but did score that other touchdown as well. So moving forward, just kind of monitor Olave's injury. It did look like it was Marquez Callaway that did take over, when Olave left in 2 wide receiver sets with Tre'Quan Smith. So Olave, I don't know. I think he should be fine to come back, but I guess we're just going to wait and see. So it's going to be an uptick for Chris Olave. And as far as Taysom Hill goes, you got to add him now. I mean, he started the week as the tight end 19, and I think he's like now a top 5 tight end after this performance this week. So you gotta play him. He's got to roll when the way that this team is rolling right now. He's going to be getting in the end zone. He's going to be, getting those carries, like those carries the way that we saw him run the ball this week. So just keep an eye on that. And to the Seattle side, we did mention that it was Rashad Penny did leave this game, but Ken Walker did look good. 8 for 88 on this one. He did score a touchdown. Noah Fant, or not Noah Fant, sorry. Definitely not Noah Fant. He's been trashed. But Geno Smith, 268, 3 passing touchdowns. Another big game for Tyler Lockett. Over 100 yards again and 2 scores in this game. I'm happy because I did have him in a couple leagues. So, but when it comes to these 2 games, I mean, both Lockett and Metcalf had a touchdown in this one too, had almost 90 yards. So I think both of these guys are startable moving forward. And I think, like I mentioned earlier, Ken Walker is the type of guy that you're going to want to add immediately. But keep in mind as well, Seattle does have one of the more difficult schedules moving forward. So when it does come with Walker, he could frustrate you guys. But just keep in mind that you do, whenever a running back 1 does open up on waivers, you are definitely going to want to go and get him based on, the amount of carries the amount that Seattle runs. Troutman's going, or not Troutman, but Walker's the one that's going to be seeing the ball quite a bit. So my Texans and the Jags, big win for the Texans. Finally got on the, we're 1-3-1 now. So this game was kind of a snooze fest. Didn't really see too much action, but we did see another big game by my man, Dameon Pierce. 26 carries, 99 yards, a touchdown. 3 receptions for 14 yards as well. I've been touting this guy since they drafted him. The Texans don't ever draft running backs or spend capital on running backs in the draft, and they haven't. They did. Dameon Pierce looked good in preseason. Comes into the regular season, had a couple off games. People were kind of doubting him a little bit. Now I think he's gotten his legs going, and we're going to see a lot more from this. Pierce is a must start every single week. He outsnapped the running backs drastically, 46-12 for Rex Burkhead. Nico Collins led this team in targets, tied with Brandon Cooks, actually, 4 for 65. So Nico Collins is the type of guy that's going to be able to get in there during bye weeks, but it also going to depend on game script as well. I was shocked that Jacksonville's defense, I'm surprised they weren't as dominant as they have been in previous weeks. When it came to the Jacksonville side, Christian Kirk led this team in snaps, followed by Marvin Jones, but it was Jones with the big one in this one, 7 catches for 104 yards. So that was big game. And then we saw Travis Etienne as well. I mean, they were basically split equal amount of time with Robinson, although Etienne did see a few more snaps out of the backfield. He did carry the ball 10 times for 71. He was targeted 5 times. Now, when it comes to this, I'm not sure. James Robinson was in there during those short yardage plays, but Etienne, and it was expected, Etienne's going to be that passing down back, and he definitely got that today. When I mentioned that he was targeted 5 times, so it's going to be interesting to see moving forward what this Jaguars team is going to look like. They do have an easier schedule moving forward, so when it comes to Robinson, I'm not worrying too much about that. I'm still going to be firing him up every single week. When it comes to Marvin Jones and stuff like that, Zay Jones did find his way back into this game as well. Even though he only caught his 3 passes, he's been targeted 8 times in 3 of his last 4 games. So he's valuable in this offense if they're going to throw the ball a ton like they have been. And Marvin Jones, I mean, he's going to be a waiver wire option this week. Let's be real. Like, I mean, 100-yard game, how do you walk away from that? So, but it's going to depend on consistency too. So another guy to add, you can add if we talked about Dalton Schultz being hurt. We talked about, you're able to drop Robert Tonyan if you were using him. I'd Evan Ingram. He's been good. He had 6 catches or 6 grabs for 69 yards in this one. Was targeted double-digit times. So, 10 targets. He is going to be a great option, especially, during bye weeks when you're basically just scraping the bottom of the barrel for tight ends. And I mean, he's basically you could be starting him all year. I mean, a guy that's getting targeted 10 times, I think he's going to be, you're easily going to be able to fire him up on a week-to-week basis. So the next game we're going to jump to now, Tennessee and Washington. This game started out kind of boring, but we did see fantasy relevant guys perform in this one. It was definitely, Derrick Henry, almost 30 carries for over 100 yards, 2 scores. Also 2 catches for 30 yards as well. On the Washington side, we'll start with the Washington side first. We saw the return of Brian Robinson. Played just under 20 snaps in this one. We didn't think he was going to get a full-time go at this one, but it's still Gibson didn't really do much in this game. I'm not sure what is going on with him, but I mean, Robinson did lead the team in rushes at 9 for 22, so not great. But Gibson only had 3 carries for 6 yards. So I think when it does come back, I think when Robinson does get back to full health, I think you're going to see a lot. This is definitely going to be I'll say it's going to be a situation of Breece Hall and Michael Carter. I think you're going to slowly see Robinson take over this backfield. And so if you find him on your waiver wire, go and add him immediately, because I think that he's going to be he's going to be the primary back eventually. So now when it comes to it's going to also hurt when we were talking about the pass catching back with JD McKissick. He did outsnap all three of these guys, Gibson and Robinson, but didn't do too much with it at all. He had 5 catches for only 37 yards on 7 targets. It's just going to be he's not seen as many snaps, as early downs, but I do think moving forward, I do think he's droppable if you do have him, especially with the fact that Robinson's coming back. So if you were kind of counting on him, then great. The leading receiver in this game was Dyami Brown. I mean, he caught 2 passes for 105 yards, but that's basically because Jahan Dotson was out. So I mean, you're not adding him. Don't get crazy and start adding him on your waivers this week because it's not going to be worth it. Logan Thomas was also out for this game too. So I mean, when it comes to extra targets thrown out there, I mean, Dyami Brown was the one that kind of got those. So when it came to the Tennessee Titans, it was Westbrook Ikhine, is that however you say it, and Robert Woods that led this team in snaps. Ikhine was 2 for 72 on 3 targets. Woods was, like we mentioned earlier, he was leading target getter at 8 targets, went 4 for 37. I mean, with Treylon Burks out, you're kind of wondering to see what was going to happen. And both Woods and Westbrook Ikhine, they saw way higher percentage of offensive snaps. So than the last 4 weeks. So I mean, if that's going to be the case, Burks is going to be out for a while. Look for those two. I was kind of curious to see what was going to happen with Kyle Phillips. I thought maybe he'd be able to have a big game, but didn't do too much neither. He was only 1 for 7. So now moving forward, when it comes to this receivers, you can start Woods. I think you can start Woods every week, but just a guy to look out for is based on Treylon Burks is just maybe a guy like Westbrook Ikhine, because we've seen him last year, kind of step up in situations like that with injuries. So the Chicago Bears and Minnesota Vikings, this was a crazy game to start the weekend off. Was Kirk Cousins had a huge game in this one, but there was big games all around on this Minnesota side. So we'll just start there first off the bat. Let's go with Dalvin Cook, 18 carries, almost 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, another 2 receptions for 27. And Justin Jefferson came back to reality, targeted 13 times, caught 12 balls for 154. So that was shocking. He even played quarterback for a snap and went 1 for 1 for 23 yards. So impressive. When it comes to this receiving core, it's just going to be spread out all over the place. When you want to break down the snaps, it was Jefferson, then Thielen, and then KJ Osborne. KJ Osborne had a decent game, 5 for 41 on 5 targets. So, he's their wide receiver 3. Thielen's still there as their wide receiver 2. Was targeted 6 times, didn't do too much with it at all. So, on the Chicago side, David Montgomery did come back after missing 1 game. And he led the team in carries with 12 for 20. Did have a rushing touchdown, so that was nice if you did start him. So he also led the Bears in receptions, 4 for 62. So he's clearly their main guy as long as he's healthy. So moving forward, he's going to be, you could put him back in your starting lineups no matter what. I mean, you should have, if as soon as he was active this week, you should have had him in there. And as far as Herbert goes, I'd still hold on to him maybe for a week if you can, if you have room on your roster, just because you're not sure what's going to happen with Montgomery. He's just coming off that, he just did miss just 1 week. So let's just kind of see how this is going to play out. A couple other notes to talk about is when it comes to this receiving core, this team doesn't throw enough to be very valuable for anybody. Darnell Mooney did go 2 for 52, but big deal. I'm not touching any of these receivers on this team whatsoever. Although when it comes to tight end position, again, Cole Kmet led 4 for 45 in this one. Is definitely the tight end one, but I'm still worried about the fact that, Fields has only thrown the ball 20 plus times. There's not really much, benefit to having anyone on that Chicago side on your fantasy team. The Chargers and the Browns. This game kind of where I thought we were going to see the Browns upset here, but didn't happen. 30-28. Austin Eckler. Talk about the battle of the running backs. We got a bunch of scores from running backs in this one. Austin Eckler, 16 carries for over 170 yards, 1 touchdown, and also caught another 4 balls for 26 yards and a touchdown. Nick Chubb, 17 carries for over 130 and 2 scores. So basically it was their show, and that was about it. When it comes to Austin Eckler, I mean, he has 5 touchdowns over in the last 2 weeks. So, I mean, when we were worried about the fact that he was, outplayed by Austin or Sony Michel 1 week, everyone was kind of worried about him, but he seems to be back and playing, a high percentage of snaps. So, I mean, is this touchdowns going to happen? 5 touchdowns, every 2 games? Probably not, but I definitely can see the way that this offense runs. He's definitely has a chance to score at least every single week. We did see Donald Parman come back in this one as well. Didn't do too much with this, but we did see the fact that Gerald Everett was limited to, 3 targets in this one, only caught 1 ball for 2 yards, which was crazy. But Parham did obviously take away a little bit of their playing time. So I'm hoping moving forward that Gerald Everett is going to be safe to keep on your roster. But like I said, it was a little bit iffy today. He got a lot of people a donut on their rosters. So, and then also on the Cleveland side, already mentioned the running back position. Kareem Hunt also had a decent game, 11 for 47, only 3 for 10 through the air. But Donovan Peoples-Jones, he is going to be a guy that you are going to be wanting to add if he's out there. 4 passes for 50 yards on 7 targets today. He's a starter for this Cleveland team. So Brissett likes him. He seems to be targeting every week. This is, the 3rd game, I think, this year that he's had at least 7 targets and 50 yards. So that's consistency. That's kind of what we're looking for. So, because of bye weeks, I think you're going to be able to start him, more often than not, but I think you're going to basically, hang on to him. I swore I'd never say until I'd hang on. I would add him, especially during bye weeks. I think you could start him, and especially when that quarterback does come back in week 13. I refuse to say his name. He could have that same role that Will Fuller had for that quarterback in Houston. So just keep an eye out for that. And on to the next game. I'll mention this real quick. Mari Cooper, another kind of solid game in this one. He had 7 for 76 in the touchdown. So it's good to see him and Njoku. They just seem to be consistent factors for Brissett. Both are nice ads, or not nice ads, but nice starts every week. So 49ers Panthers, great game, 37-15. We didn't expect too much out of Carolina, and we definitely didn't get that. Jeff Wilson continues to step in admirably for Eli Mitchell, another 17 carries for 120 yards and 1 score, and he caught another 2 balls. So, and Christian McCaffrey, 14 for 54, 1 score, and 7 receptions for 50 yards. So when it comes to this game, this team in general, their backfield is, the 49ers continue just to have a weird backfield altogether, to be honest. Tevin Coleman is now the backup to Jeff Wilson. So I'm not sure what's going to happen moving forward as far as when Elijah Mitchell does come back, what happens there. But we saw Tevin Coleman 8 for 23 and then 3 for 44 and did catch a passing touchdown. Oh, sorry. And he had 2 touchdowns today. My apologies. So I didn't actually realize that he has scored a rushing one as well. So, but I mean, you kind of relied heavily on the back on the run game in this one because you are up a ton. So Wilson, I think most leagues, Wilson is, he's a safe play. But if they are leading in this one, you're going to see a lot more of a split backfield. We're going to see a little bit more carries being taken away from him. So, and George Kittle, 5 for 47. Brandon Ayuk, 3 for 58. So, like I said, 38-13. They didn't really need to pass too much. Just looked to me like basically the running backs did a lot of work in this one. Carolina side of the ball, I mean, Baker Mayfield, 20 for 36, 215. He's terrible, but walking boot. And it's going to be interesting now. Now that he's in a walking boot, I think this opens up a perfect opportunity for Sam Darnold to eventually come back. I mean, he is eligible to return, but it looks like it's going to be PJ Walker who took over in the final drive. So he's going to be the starter if Mayfield does miss time, at least until Darnold does come back. Definitely not addable anywhere. But I'm also curious to see with the change at quarterback, are we finally going to see a little bit more action coming for DJ Moore, who had 4 catches for 59 yards, and maybe Robbie Anderson? Hopefully, that's just going to be a wait and see approach with this Carolina team, and probably they need to fire their coach. So, Dallas Cowboys and the Rams. Cooper Rush still continues just to win games. Dallas is now 4-1, which is crazy. Rams just look not good at all. But I mean, the one bright note on the Rams side, as usual, Cooper Kupp, another 7 catches for 125 yards and 1 score. So without question, I mean, you're firing Cooper Kupp all the time. When it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, though, on the other hand, it was Pollard led this team in, went for 8 for 86. Elliott still led this team in carries with 22 for 78. So not bad, but we did see Pollard break one off for a big touchdown. He looks good. I mean, he looks explosive and everything like that, but it's slowly starting to creep up to this, splitting snap counts here. Zeke did play, 13 more than him, but we're starting to see Pollard a little bit more in situations, and Cooper Rush didn't have to do too much with this one. I mean, he was only 10 for 16 for 102. Only three receivers on this team caught the ball. CeeDee Lamb, 5 for 53 on 8 targets, and Gallup was 4 for 44. Noah Brown continues not to do much this week. He's droppable in my opinion, and we did mention about the injury to Dalton Schultz. Still been dealing with this knee injury, so when it comes to that, I mean, monitor it. You're not really adding anybody in his place, and I would honestly consider getting rid of Allen Robinson because he continues just to do absolutely nothing. I mean, 3 catches on 5 targets, for 12 yards. I don't know what to say. For some reason, Stafford cannot find Robinson where he used to be able to. At least I mentioned it on our show this past weekend. He doesn't look for that third progression. He looks one way and that's it. It's it's the Cooper Kupp or it's the Higbee and that's it. Those are the only 2 guys that did anything in this one. 7 for 46 for Higbee, and I mentioned 7 for 125. Both those guys had double-digit targets. Just does not, just not have a connection with Robinson. I mean, he's been held to under 25 yards. I think it's 3 or 4 times in 5 games. So just definitely droppable moving forward. So, and to the last game we're going to get to right now is the Philadelphia Eagles and the Cardinals. Eagles 5-0. They just all they do is win, right? So when it comes to this game, Marquise Brown 8 catches for 78 yards, 1 score. Nice to see, especially you started him. Dallas Goedert 8 for 95. We did figure out that he was going to have another big game, Goedert in this one. 8 for 95, like I mentioned, 9 targets. Devonta Smith, I did call it. I said he's going to have a big game. I mean, only 10 for 87, didn't find the end zone, but I mean, still targeted 11 times. AJ Brown, 7 targets, 3 catches for 32 yards. So Devonta Smith keeps playing a lot more snaps than I thought that he would be. I mean, he's out snapping. He led all teams and all receivers in snaps this week. Miles Sanders led all running backs. He had 15 carries for 58 yards and 2 catches in this one as well. So not too much. Jalen Hurts just continues to lead this team in rushes. 15 rushes for 61 yards, 2 scores. I mean, this kid's unbelievable. So. On the Arizona side of the ball, we mentioned it earlier about the running back position. Connor left this game, so did Darrell Williams. So it looked like it was the Eno Benjamin is the one that came in, and played basically. Was even when Connor did go out, it was Eno Benjamin that did play a little bit more than Williams did, anyways. So I do think it's going to be Benjamin that's going to be Benjamin is, even when they're all healthy, I think it is Benjamin that's going to be the backup. He is going to be, I think he's definitely worth the ad this week in the waiver wire, because we're not sure what the severity of these injuries are to either of these guys. So, and technically could be a starter next week. We did see AJ Brown come back in this one, 3 catches for 20 yards, but I mean, it is what it is. And, Greg Dortch is droppable now. I mean, unfortunate. He was huge, but we did think that I'll eat crow on this one. It was Rondale Moore is like, he's a real deal. I mean, 7 catches for 68 yards, didn't score in this one, targeted 8 times, but I said that Dortch was going to outplay him moving forward. So my buddy Trevor and I apologize. Habby, I apologize because I've been touting Dortch, for weeks on end, except for last week. I wasn't too high on him, but it looks to me that Dortch is droppable. So, I mean, drop him now. Everybody drop him. So now it's going to be interesting, though, because what's going to happen when Hopkins does come back after next week. So who knows? But as far as Rondale Moore goes, you can add him if he's available. He's going to be probably one of those top receivers to add this week. So, and Zach Ertz 6 for 48 in this one as well on 10 targets. So, with everything that's said and done when it comes to Zach Ertz, on the other hand, you're going to see a ton of snaps played by Zach Ertz. He continues to be dominant. He's on the field the majority of the time. 64 snaps today. They don't have another tight end. They cut their backup already, Max Williams, this past week. So they don't often run too many 2 tight end sets anyways. But with the fact that happens, I think you're going to see a lot more of Rondale Moore on the field. So that's going to be a bonus. And then for the that was the last game we're going to talk about. I'll touch on the game that's on right now is Cincinnati, Baltimore. Like I mentioned earlier, it's Canadian Thanksgiving right now, so I'm kind of doing this real quick to get back up, but get back upstairs there. But it has gone on quite a long time, which I'm not used to talking to myself this long. But when it comes to this game, Joe Burrow, 9 for 180 yards, 1 passing score, not too much going on, but Hayden Hurst is the one that was being beneficial in this one. Leading targets 7, 6 for 53 in a score. And on the Baltimore side of the ball, 145 for Lamar, 1 passing touchdown. That passing touchdown was to Mark Andrews, 6 for 75 on 8 targets. So outside of that, everybody, appreciate all the love and support from everybody. You guys have been amazing the last couple of years, and it just keeps getting better. Our numbers are up and everything like that. So I do apologize that there was no live shows the last 2 weeks. That was my bad, but like I mentioned, we'll be back next week. And outside of that, keep an eye out for this week. We'll be releasing 3 or 4 shows. So you're going to be listening to the recap show Monday. We're dropping the waiver wire show on Tuesday, and then we'll go back to our vote slouch and sneaky starts Thursday. So appreciate everybody for listening. Talk soon. Peace.